Ta-ta! Here we go with Health, Wealth, and Happiness. How to learn super fast, accelerated expertise, a decade of this in motion. For me, when I'm at events, watching videos, reading books, so many people have been over my shoulder watching me take notes, and they're like, dude, I'm not going to take notes because I just want a copy of yours. Bulleted form, real precise in terms of the takeaways and so forth. And I just want to make sure, as we get into this training today, that I'm setting you up for success. As of this training's recording, we're getting into the new year here shortly. So now's the time to build competencies that we can fold into the new year that can help us grow. And if we're an entrepreneur, thought leader, coach, we can take better notes, grow faster. So I'm going to go over everything from the big mindset, through the process, through the tactics, through how to keep it top of mind, through 10 years, a decade of me doing this. I was looking over my notes from when I started to really use, back then I was using Evernote as the tool to capture everything. And I was looking at my evolution of getting into this, we'll go over the outline here too, to really help you crush, taking notes, reviewing those notes. So many people, maybe it's you, have taken notes in journals by hand or whatever that is, and just don't look at them. Don't even know where they're at. I have all of my notes and still access them for the last decade pretty consistently. Quarterly for some things, monthly for some things. We'll talk about that. We'll get into that. I want to make sure as you go into the new year or whatever time it is for you if you're watching the replay, go into the next month, into the next quarter, into the next week, whatever that is, that you're set for success. Everything you're absorbing, if it's something you want to retain and grow from, you have a process and a way to build, sustain, grow competency. So we got a lot to unpack today. I'm even going to take you on an over-the-shoulder view. So what I figured I'd do is after this recording, this training, I'll go in and then kind of put in me taking notes on my own training, which I do anyway, sounds weird, but it is true. I take notes on my own training. I'm speaking extemporaneously. I don't know where some of these stories come from. We'll talk about TSTC as part of the learning journey. And I'm like, dang, that was good stuff, dude. Who is this guy? I hope that helps. Thank you so incredibly much for letting me help you, be here for you, teach you, train you, coach you, love on you, and make sure you're on your path to success as you step into this next part of your life, right? Beauty too is we've got lots of resources for you as well. That being said, let's go ahead and jump right into our big picture. Why are we doing this anyway? Those beautiful 5 Ps that will tie very closely into what we're going to cover today. Very first one is we're feeling purposeful. When I'm on my learning journey, especially now with our new cryptocurrency initiative, cryptocurrency ambition, I'm incredibly purposeful because it's bundling in so many of the things in my wheelhouse. Computer programming, the basis for the blockchain, computer programming and algorithms. Bitcoin, currency that it's deflationary. We've talked about that in our initial training. If you didn't see our initial training, I'm keeping that up for public consumption, even though it's a training that I do charge for. And I have a link for that below for you. And making sure that we understand that. And then the other side of it is there's purposeful coins and tokens and projects, especially in the metaverse, that are really helping the world be more purposeful in terms of this evolution into Web 3.0. And if you're not sure what Web 3.0 or Web 2.0 or Web 1.0 is, I'll put a link to this guy in a TikTok video who describes it in about a minute or two that just blows your mind. At least it blew my mind. Just so you have that. Value out of the gate, feeling purposeful. That's a big part of this. So how did I learn the things I needed to know about cryptocurrency so fast? Did this. And I integrated and integrated and integrated. We'll talk about that down here in terms of our review, the needle movers. How are we integrating this? You're going to love this. I hope you're as excited as I am. This is so gold. Next up, passion. I don't know if you've been able to tell, but yeah, I'm feeling a little bit passionate, very positive, and very productive, teaching you how to accelerate your expertise in a high performance way. You know, the highest performers are remarkably engaged, joyful, and confident, consistently over the long term, coming from their best self. My best self is living into, we'll go over this in a minute, the Trifecta of Happiness. Learning new things, creating from what I've learned, simplifying the complicated, and then sharing it with you. The create to share part can be monetized. That's the last P, profit. I don't know about you, but so many people are taking their knowledge with their unique ability to tell story, to articulate, to share, to build frameworks, and they're monetizing it. You know, 4-figure income from it, 5-figure income, 6, 7, 8, I want to say even 9. But Brendon Burchard, our master coach and certified high performance coaching, author of all these beautiful books, we'll cover one of them in depth, a little bit in depth today. Very powerful in terms of the way he scaled over the last decade. And I think he's at 8 figures in the Influencer Summit, which was earlier this week. If you didn't get to see Influencer Summit, I took tons of notes using this exact process, and I got them. And if you maybe want some, just reach out to me and let me know. I might be able to hook you up. So a big part of this is that when we take great notes, if we hear, this is a really critical part of servant leadership, a huge part of high performance. If we hear somebody say, hey, you know what, I don't know anything about that, but I'd love to know. You know, can you give me, or where can you direct me for the baby step? Brendon talked about the linchpin, in the line of experts, the linchpin, and that's the person connecting people to things that they need or to people they need to further their expertise, to further their business. And I think of myself as a linchpin for you to come to me, especially those beautiful, you're one of our beautiful Master Community members, you know this, to say, hey, Char, I'm having a problem with this, or I need to learn more about that. Can you direct or help? So often it informs our trainings. We're in season 5, session 5, I think. Holy moly, we're at this 5 years going after it. You know, it's very much a co-creation. Thanks to Natalie Ellis of Boss Babes in Influencer Summit for really diving deep on the power of co-creation in terms of her messaging and her marketing. She did a great job with that. So if you want that clip, just reach out, let me know. I'm happy to help you. Big part here. The 5 Ps tied to this idea. If this is for you to learn new things, that's the big part of today's topic here. Create from what you've learned. We'll talk about that. And then share what you've learned. That's going to be on you in terms of sharing through a course, through a live cast, through a video. There's people charging, and this is part of my new cryptocurrency initiative, sharing their notes, and they're charging for that. That's the baseline level of our cryptocurrency offer is weekly, I call it cryptocurrency weekly mastery. And that's me sharing notes and directions to specific areas of the cryptocurrency journey for you to further your journey. So for example, you'll get access to our Basecamp project. In that Basecamp project, there'll be my weekly notes in the form of a message with a thread so people can ask questions on them. Then we'll have the idea of philosophy, the idea of metaverse and NFTs. That'll be a section that I'll direct you to, just real quick clips. Just so you're like, hey, I need to be on top of this. If this is the way the world's going and I want to be involved some way, I want to know what's going on. Every week I'll get a drip. I'm going to get a hit. And it's going to give me some notes. Charlie's taken some notes that he thinks are really applicable to what I'm trying to do to learn. Then there are a couple of other items that'll link to things that really help you on your learning journey. Doesn't require a lot of time from you, just a quick clip. But the value's there from you growing and learning. That's the part I love. When people have to pay for something, and I think you know this to be true, they have a different commitment level to that. Does that make sense? They're like, whoa, I'm paying for this. I better acknowledge or use this. And that's a huge part of that. And I just strongly believe as the world evolves that we need to be in front of the educational journey. Love the quote from H.G. Wells that I found through Robert Breedlove, and it's in my notes as I take notes just like this. It was a distinction for me. Civilization is in a race between education and catastrophe. Civilization is a race between education and catastrophe. I want to be on the education side. My goal, my dream, my job is to help you, if this is your desire, to educate others. But so often we're at a drip. There's only so much input we can have and so much integration we can do. And if you want to speed that input up and integration up, that's what today's about. Cool? I know I'm throwing a lot at you. I'm energized and ready to rock it. Love being here with you. Love supporting you. Love helping you. Love living into this. I hope you're sensing it. Bring in the joy on this beautiful day. That said, this ends the 5 Ps piece. We'll come back to this as our big why, the sort of fundamentals, if you will, for how we're going to go through our work today. Let's dive into the training. We got a lot to cover. Very first part of the training is the trifecta of happiness. We have to ask ourselves, going back over here, why are we doing this? Why are we learning what we're learning? So I'm going to illustrate for you through the lens of cryptocurrency and why it became front and center for me to fire up a new offer line for it, a new ambition line with a couple offers, and then go after that pretty severely. And I'm going to talk that through for you in just a sec. But let's go over the trifecta of happiness and then integrate that illustration. I'm learning something new, creating from what I've learned, and a lot of the creation, by the way, is just these notes. They're just those notes and resources, and they're well categorized, very well categorized. And I'm sharing what I've learned, and when I reached out, it was probably 6-7 weeks ago in our weekly wisdom, and I said, hey, I have a cryptocurrency strategy I'm developing, and you'd like to learn about it. That's all I said. At that point, I did not have the ambition to create an offer for cryptocurrency learning, weekly or monthly. Didn't have that at all. But lots of people raised their hand by clicking and said, hey, I'd like to learn your cryptocurrency strategy. It was a lot more than I ever thought would. And then I evolved that and asked what kind of questions you have. I literally have a note with 50 or so questions from a dozen people that are really powerful. And I kind of took their questions exactly as they're worded and then grouped them. What is cryptocurrency? Why is it important? Those kind of things down to, I'm 77, should I get involved? Great question. Thanks, Dwayne. And then moving through that informed my training, put the training up, put up an offer. Tons of people reviewed it, said, yeah, I want to take your training. And then the offer was pinned to the training. And then a lot of people jumped on that too. So I have all that information down below along with the basic training. But that's the cycle of the trifecta of happiness. I get incredibly happy, and let's qualify that, purposeful, passionate, positive, productive, and profitable through the lens of learning something new, creating from what I learned. And then this part, and I cannot stress it enough, sharing that beauty with you. Got a lot of testimonials. Those testimonials say, Charly, you broke this down in a simple way. Took something incredibly complicated and made it simple. And I think that if Sir Patrick, one of our Master Community members, was to say, hey, Char, what's your superpower? That might be it. I don't know. You can figure it out. But to take the complicated and simplify it to help you on your journey through this beautiful path in life that we have. Does that all make sense? So good. The trifecta of happiness I've taught at length in previous trainings. That's the arc. It's just a cycle. And if we are sharing through the lens of profit, then we learn new things and share. And we can create that as a sustainable, member-driven, recurring revenue-based business. And as you know, one of my power themes, one of my major distinctions, and we'll talk about that in a little bit, in my business and in my life is recurring revenue equals personal freedom. Recurring revenue equals personal freedom. I'm sure you've heard my story before. When I got clear on that in 94, built the internet business that helped people get on the internet with a local phone call in 95. 5 years later, we sold that recurring revenue-based business and retired, me at the age of 29, on October 10th of 2000. Does that make sense? Like, it was like, boom, you are a living example of recurring revenue equals personal freedom. Now you must teach. It took me a while to sort that out, but I'm in it. And we're talking about it right now. And we've been doing that for quite a while. Really, really powerful for the trifecta of happiness. So why are we doing this? What's the story behind it? What I realized, and it wasn't until the philosophy of cryptocurrency hit me, that it became a high priority for me to educate on. And the essence of what that was illustratively for you, the why I have to go after and teach, and more importantly in line of today's topic, why I have to learn at a rapid rate, because there's so much depth, so many facets of cryptocurrency and blockchain to learn about and how it's going to affect change in the world. And I'll get into that in just a little bit. But why I had to jump that up, because it felt like a world mission for me. It was a new passion, but it was also like the world needs to know. The world needs to be educated. This is critical. So that was the fuel for me to learn something. I'm blessed that I've had for the last decade a way to learn fast and integrate fast. What may have taken me over a decade ago, months to learn, I learned in weeks. Maybe less than that in some instances, because I found great resources and mentors to learn from. So I don't know that I put that up here, but the high performance, it is through the high performance mindset, is that you need to find people who are results experts, people who are really going after it. It's really hard to tell that if you're new to the learn space, meaning you're learn to the self-improvement, personal growth space. So I would just challenge you to reach out to me and say, Char, I'm trying to learn topic X. Who would be 3 great mentors for me to start following? And I'll just send those over to you and say, go through like this video or this video and see if that resonates with you. Because some trainers resonate with me that may not resonate with you. Does that make sense? But I'll give you a few options. And we got to sort out the people who are just, we call this research reporters and results experts. And there's nothing wrong with that. Research reporters and role models. But there's a lot of people who talk the talk but don't walk the walk in the expert space. And if you're able to sort out the true results experts, and I hope you think of me as a results expert from that perspective and follow those, that eliminates 90% of the others. Does that make sense? So we have to choose our mentor. It's a big part of high performance mindset is choosing our mentor. So circling back to why. My why is clear. I believe the world needs to know about cryptocurrency as we evolve to utilize that at a humanity level. And we wouldn't even be having this conversation if it didn't have legs for the last, 13 years, but decade to make it. And now my job, thinking through the H.G. Wells quote, is to really create and share things that help you learn it and connect with it in a way that helps you grow and integrate it and teach others about it. So there's a ripple effect involved. Is that helpful? When we think about the why through the lens of purpose and profit, if you decide you want to share this information with others, TSTC comes to mind. What's TSTC? TSTC is a framework I made based on high performance principles that says for every video I release, there's going to be a topic, that's the first T, a story or illustration, training, that's the second T, and I'm going to challenge you. So let me go over that again, just in case you haven't heard it in a while or haven't heard it at all. There's a topic, a story, a teachable point or more, and a challenge. So when I look through the why here, it's like, oh, cryptocurrency, all the different elements of it. NFTs, what's an NFT? That's a topic. What's the story that really helps you understand how important it is? What's teachable points that I can make that would help you kind of get on the path to understanding NFTs and not maybe investing in them, but understanding how to utilize them and how they're going to be utilized? What's my challenge? Most instructors, by the way, don't hit that last C too well or at all. They don't challenge us. And the arc of a great challenge is asking great questions. Does that make sense? TSTC. If you go into, and I'll link it below, into my 10-day health, wealth, and happiness challenge, you'll see that every day is one topic. Sleep, day 1. Hydration, day 2. Eating, day 3. Exercise, day 4. And inside each of those days, for 3 to 10 minutes, I'm following TSTC. Talking about it, I think some of the stories are hilarious, and then teaching you, and then challenging you. Does that make sense? TSTC. So through the lens of something you're trying to learn, the meta here is, if you want to unpack this, is to say, okay, is this something that I want to teach others? That thought is how I integrate things super fast. Here's why. When you learn something and you have to teach it, there's a different level of integration because you're learning it at an observer level to say, if I'm learning this, how can I say this in a better, more simple way? It deeply integrates with you. Does that make sense? If I'm in a coaching routine or coaching process, high performance coaching, and we're going over the HP6, for example, clarity, energy, courage, I better have lived into that because as I'm coaching other people through it, I want to tell stories around the topic of clarity and teach them on clarity and challenge them on clarity. I want to tell stories that relate, that provide emotional connection, emotional tissue, as Bo Eason calls it, one of our great instructors through World's Great Speaker Training, about kind of getting that emotional resonance with who you're teaching. Does that help? So we have to think about why you want to learn what you're going to learn. And I hope we've dove deep enough on that topic to really help you understand, okay, why is it that I want to learn this? And the moment you flick that switch and say, I do want to share and I want to follow best practices, topic, story, training, challenge, all right, that's my fuel. That's my catalyst to own this. As soon as I got clear on that with cryptocurrency, it became a 2 to 3 hour a nighter. And imagine at my level of learning fast, accelerated expertise, 2 to 3 hours is a week. I would say it's a week and a half to 2 weeks worth of learning the old way that I used to do it. Because I'm integrating and going. And then I want to make sure as you think that through, that we're taking the notes and we're taking them in the most efficient fashion for us. And I'll share my efficient fashion. It may not work for you. It may work for you. But that we're reviewing them. That's the part so many people, and I know you might be saying, that's me, Char. That's the part so many people misfire on. They're like, I got the notes. They're over in that journal somewhere. But the practice of it, I'm not going to spoil that just yet. We'll talk about that down here in the needle movers. Does that all make sense so far? So there's a couple things as we move to part 2 of our training today that we have to be really clear about. It's the high performance mindset. We've talked a little about that, but the big theme for learning is we have to be clear, and we talk about this in session Defiance, and that's inside our declaration sessions. It's also in the book, The Motivation Manifesto, which is what the Defiance high performance coaching session is based on. We have to be careful of our self-talk that sabotages our ability to learn. So let me rephrase that for you. This could be a distinction for you. We have to be careful of any self-talk we have that hinders our ability to learn. Do you have self-talk that hinders your ability to learn? Here's examples, illustrations. Going back to here, story time. One of them. Char, I'm not good with tech. I'm never going to be able to learn how you do this. Boom. You say that statement, the world delivers on it. Flip that. Go down to one of my favorite distinctions over the last decade. I believe in my ability to figure things out. I believe in my ability to figure things out. If you really believe that, then you're just like, okay, Char, bring it. I got to figure this out. It's going to take me a while. I'm going to have to rewatch the replay, but I'm going to go after it. I'm going to build my new level of competency and my new level of application to go after learning things faster. I'm going to accelerate my expertise. So I would love for you, challenge for you, is to ask yourself what language, if any, do you have that's supporting you or hindering you? The defiance piece is hindering language that stops us from going after our goals towards that end of learning something new. Anything there for you? That's a big part of the high performance mindset, is assuring that we're on it. There's a great book by Marie Forleo, Everything is Figure Outable. There's another great book, and I'll link to these down below. There's another great book by Carol Dweck, The Growth Mindset. Growth mindset is, hey, give me, I'm a sponge. The fixed mindset is like, don't need to know that. I won't be able to learn that. That's impossible to learn. I wouldn't be able to do that. That's the difference. And I want to call that out for you right away as we step into the second part. Where is your mindset at with this? Does that make sense? Oh, it can sting, I know, but that's the reality of it. All right. We'll talk more about high performance mindset as we move through things. Let's go to number 3, high performance competency. There is a chapter in this book, I've noted the pages for you, pages 56 through 76, that dives deep on how the highest performers go after growth and competency. It's also a session, it's in the Charge series. And just so, let me back up a minute. If you're not familiar with high performance coaching, we have 4 different topical areas. Each of them have 12 sessions. And it's 1 session per week or 1 session every other week. We start out with the core sessions. They're based on the book High Performance Habits. Actually, the book came out after the core sessions, but it kind of works out that way. Clarity, energy, courage, productivity, influence. Focus is how we start, actually. Then we talk about psychology mastery, physiology mastery, productivity mastery, persuasion mastery, tying it up, ending it on purpose. I love that. In our second set of sessions, the second 12 is based on the Charge book. And those are called the Charge sessions. Control, competence, congruence, care, connection. Each of these human drives have 1 topic each. They're also, in this book, 1 chapter each. So if you want to accelerate your expertise, you're probably going to want to read pages 56 through 76 in the book, The Charge, so you can get a mindset wrapped around what it means to grow competency, to grow wisdom, skills, ability for whatever topic you're trying to learn. Can you imagine, if you're not in high performance coaching, it's maybe new to you, that the highest performers set a skill they want to develop every month? And I usually do that 2 or 3 months out because things change as the year goes on. Some people set it out for the year. So I'm learning next month is this, next month is that. My current skill set for this month is to understand the metaverse in deep, deep ways. And next month is understand mining in the cryptocurrency world. So what did I do to forward my work in the metaverse? And if you're not familiar with the metaverse, how can I best describe it? 2 parts. 1, watch the movie Ready Player One. Watch the movie Ready Player One. That helps you understand what a metaverse type world is. The easiest way to think about it, if you've ever played The Sims, which is a computer game where you control a person and you're basically controlling their life and going to parties and then decorating your house and all this. It's like that, except in the metaverse that we're defining through cryptocurrency, you're buying with real money in these environments, in these virtual worlds. If you have goggles on, and I just got the Oculus Quest 2 virtual reality goggles with these controllers, we'll call them, I can't even describe, I'm getting chills just telling you this, I can't even describe where that's going. I mean, I was in this environment that I felt like I was in another world, literally. I'm looking around and I'm literally in that space. And then I'm using these things as my hands and I can see them and I'm doing stuff with them and I'm moving around. It was crazy what's going on. And what happens through the metaverse is that as humanity evolves, we're going to be able to get into the scene, buy things, trade things, through the power of NFTs, non-fungible tokens. And I'm just going to break this down for you as we think this illustration out. A non-fungible token, the easy way to think about it is if you had a baseball card that was signed by Babe Ruth, and it was in like a shadow box thing, and it had a certificate of authenticity. That certificate of authenticity may be registered somewhere, but it would be here, and that would be the only way that people would know that's legitimately a Babe Ruth card, and it's got authorization and authenticity to it. Does that make sense? What NFTs do is they say on the blockchain, and we've talked about that in our cryptocurrency training, there's a worldwide acknowledgement that that thing is legitimate and authorized. Does that make sense? Like that thing could be a digital picture, could be a sound clip from a training, could be a bazillion things. Where we're seeing NFTs evolve to is that probably 3, 5, 10 years down the road, Gary Vee just talked about this, Gary Vaynerchuk, NFTs will be the way tickets for concerts are transferred. Where you buy one, and if you can't go, you can transfer it to somebody else. And it's like an authentic way to track things worldwide, globally, that's transparent on the blockchain. And if this is over your head, watch the cryptocurrency training to assure you're getting yourself up to speed. And if it's over your head, I feel bad for you because if the world's evolving there and you're not on board with it, watch out. Does that make sense? Whew. Crazy talk in this time of shift and evolution. And we've got to be clear about that. So I hope through what I've been illustrating for you that you're seeing as we think through this competency piece, I have to get in front of that. I have to really go after specific things. So last month it was the philosophy of cryptocurrency. And then I had to understand, as I taught in the cryptocurrency training, the 101 training, the history of money, the 5 principles of money, and how humans have been known historically for thousands of years to corrupt money, and how cryptocurrency solves for that. Does that all make sense? That's the evolution of competency. To bring it back to you, you just need to think through, okay, if I'm going to grow, and let's just use cryptocurrency as our topic. If I'm going to grow, this month and next month is dedicated to me just getting a lay of the land and understanding. And if you love me, then you might like what I've got. So you can click below to learn all about that. Charlie can guide me in Cryptocurrency 101, that training is freely available below, to understand what the lay of the land is, what I need to be paying attention to. Then he can guide me how to create income from it. That was last month's mastery trainings, right? He shows me, you're over my shoulder basically, looking at me trading US dollars for cryptocurrency in that Voyager app, which I'll link to below as well. That's the concept of growing competency for cryptocurrency, right? If we segment our cryptocurrency growth path, really critical as we think through the next part, or the process in the outline, we segment it, we're like, all right, I have to understand the philosophy of it. What is it? I cover that. Then I got to understand, like, how is it used and what's its applications? Okay, I cover that. I got to understand how I can get involved, or if I want to get involved and do it low risk, and I cover that. So like there's 3 segments, and then the highest performers take those segments and say, you know what? This isn't something I can learn in a video. This is something that I'm going to follow the rabbit hole. That's the big thing with cryptocurrency and Bitcoin. I'm going to follow the rabbit hole to learn how this stuff evolves. And just keep on going with experts that are recommended. And I've done a decent job of giving you links and so on for that. So that makes sense. So we split it into 3, and that's our next 3 months of learning. Philosophy, application, and how I can get involved. And if I do, and I'll test it and see. So that would be a high performance competency path going after those things. Is that helpful? So we're really trying to bring that all back around into this bigger idea of learning super fast. If you have a gray area or a black area or just can't think through what you need to learn, please reach out to me and say, Char, this is the ambition I have to learn this thing. Could you just run this through your mindset and share with me how you would approach setting up the next 3 months? And I will gladly do that, and we can do that. If you're in our Zoom roundtable, we'll talk that through for you, because that will really help you forward that. Does that all make sense? All right. Next up, we have your tools. Now, the tools that I use, and they had to evolve from paper to these so I could get rid of that whole, where's that journal at? And I could search through my notes. The tools that I use today are Apple Notes. That's the basic for all my learnings, is Apple Notes. I'm fully in the ecosystem. I can call it up on my phone. I can call it up on my iPad. I can call it up on my computer. I can go to your house if I don't have any of my devices, log into my iCloud account, and I can show you my notes. Does that make sense? I need full portability for my notes, and I need to be able to search them. So my base tool is Apple Notes. The reason I love Apple Notes is this. And I'll try in this training, maybe in the replay, I'll put in over the shoulder view of me doing this. And maybe I'll do it from this training, actually. I'll just do this segment, and I'll take notes for it, and you can watch me. Maybe in 3 to 5 minutes, I'll see if I can make that happen for you. So I would be drawing this in my notes. Now I could type it and like kind of make weird arrows with, slashes and stuff. Or because of the way Apple Notes works, I can have my computer here and I'm taking notes, and I can pop to my iPad, open the same note real time, so the notes open here and here, draw with my Apple Pencil on the iPad, learn, create, share, color code it like I did, and then it would automatically show it up in my Apple Note over here, like instantly. Does that make sense? It's kind of like what Google Docs does. If you're using Google Docs and you're sharing with somebody, you can see them editing while you're editing. So I can't think of any better way to capture, because I'm visual as well as textual, to capture what I'm learning sort of in demand. So I'll have my laptop over here and my iPad over here, and I have that note open and I'll draw the Trifecta of Happiness, and then it's integrated in my notes, and I'm on my way. That's the reason one of the reasons I love Apple Notes. The other reason I love Apple Note, and I used to be a huge Evernote fan up until about a year and a half ago, is because it's so smoking fast. What I noticed with Evernote, especially when they made their new version, it became unusably slow. It got inflated. They fixed a lot of those issues, but I just can't be, I'm coaching, I'm taking notes on my coaching clients real time like that. And it was unusable for me. If the note was big, as a client has been with me for 5-6 years, it took literally a minute to load the note. I'm like, this is just text. What? Apple Notes, boom, I'm in. So, and the other side to it is, and I don't want to spend too much time here, it isn't really about this topic, is that the Apple ecosystem is the only one that I really trust for security and interface with the government. Not that the government thing is a big deal for me, but what I mean by that is there's a whole process with Apple's legal team for government officials or local officials, whatever it is, to subpoena information that Apple is very strict about their values and standards on, that even Google is not. And that's a whole nother topic for a whole nother time. The idea is that when you're in the Apple ecosystem, I feel that's probably, it's got back doors and it's got hacks and stuff like that, but you're probably in the most secure environment of the company who just stands tall and strong for user choice and user security. So that's just another reason for me to choose that as my tool. So like I said, I'll go through and at some point put this in the replay where I'm taking notes on this very training and show you that aspect of it. But the tools are really important. Here's the thing, I don't need any other tools. So Apple Notes is it for me. Inside the Apple ecosystem, you can create shortcuts inside keyboard of system preferences. What does that mean? It means that if you go into keyboard shortcuts, or I think they call them shortcuts, or text replacement is what they call it, and you put in like semicolon C2NP, Charlie 2 note template. That's a shortcut that I have. That I pop a new note open and I do C2NTP and it just puts in the basic outline of this right in the note, and I just have to tune it up, and I'm in. When I go through and I type, which we'll learn about in a minute, the word distinction, I don't type that word. I just do semicolon DI. And then I'm typing, and it automatically replaces it with distinction. If I do semicolon MD, it automatically replaces the MD with major distinction. If I do, I just type ask usually. I think I do semicolon AC, it action. And we'll go over what those mean in just a minute, but see what we're talking about here? This is taking notes fast, like real time as it's being taught. That, I can only tell you, took a lot of practice. And if you're like, Charles, this is so much, I'm not gonna be able to do this. It's just baby steps. If you really care about your learning journey, and that's the reason we had that conversation first, if you really care about the share and the TSTC piece, and you want to inform and educate and be at the top of your game, you have got to develop learning capacities to accelerate your expertise. Love to pause for a moment with what I just shared, challenging you. What is it that you have? What do you have in play to take good notes, to integrate those notes, to possibly share those notes with others on an enduring basis? How can you recall those notes fast? So many people, including me over 10 years ago, I'd be like, oh, I got those notes for the 6 types of testimonies you need that Brennan reviewed in Total Product Blueprint in 2010. But they're in my notebook at home, and I'm in California, and my home's in Florida. And I was like, I never want to run into that again. I want to be able to just recall that. And now I can just go into my notes and say testimonials, or 6 testimonial types, and then boom, I'm up. It's there. And that's from over 10 years ago, because I retyped them actually in it was 2014, I think. That's the concept. Does that make sense? Is that a dream, a goal, a desire for you? So let's keep on going, because I want to talk about the integration of how you integrate your notes, and we'll cover that in the review piece. So we have our tools. I choose Apple Notes. I've got shortcuts at play. I've talked to you about how I can draw and create while I'm taking notes. And I'll show that to you in our little, I'll do like a 3-minute clip and I'll put it in the replay so you can see that in action. Does that make sense? Oh, so good. Hello. I'll show you how it's done. I'll take a picture of it, show you my setup. So when I'm in learn mode, this is how I crush. So we have the tools. Your challenge right now is to think about what tool you're going to use and just solidify on it. The beauty is today, if you're using Apple Notes in your phone, is that you can take existing pages from your journals where you've previously learned, and within the latest iOS and the latest OS, I think, iPad OS, you can take a picture of it and it will scan for the text. It does OCR, optical character recognition, real time. So it can like copy the text that you've written and transcribe it right into your notes. Does that make sense? Now, mileage may vary if your handwriting sucks, but that's the idea. Isn't that cool? It's when you see that, you'll see a little, it looks like a piece of paper, and you hit it and it zooms in on the text, and you hit on that and it will like copy it in text form. Amazing things are going on with technology right now. So I'll be showing you that. Now the outline, the way I take notes. I'm a bullet-oriented person. You'll see that as I show you my notes. Bullet-oriented person, and there's 5 distinctions of notes the way I take them. So, well, there's actually 6, but the 5 that are brought to point are quotes, distinctions, major distinctions, questions, because we believe the best way to challenge myself and others is through the power of questions. I'm always looking for great questions. And action. So let me just walk you through the entire process, and then you'll see it as I do it from this very training. Very first thing that I do is I create a new note, title, event, video. If it's a video on YouTube, for example, I'll link to it. If it's a book, I'll link to that on Amazon. And then I'm keeping in mind as I'm doing the video or the book that I'm noting page numbers. Maybe what I'll do actually is show you the competency chapter from the book that I took notes on. That was extensive note taking. Then below that I have power themes and action items. And that all sits at the top of the note. I do not do anything with power themes or action items until after I've gone through and taken notes. What does that mean? It means as I go through, let's just say we're at a day of Brendan's event, High Performance Academy. And maybe I'll link to that for you just so you can see this in action. There's going to be certain quotes that rise to the top. There's going to be certain action items. When I do an action item in the notes, I'm like on the plane ride back from California, I'm going through all my notes extensively and I'm moving themes up. At the very top of the actual note of the day one High Performance Academy, I'm moving themes up into the power themes. These are things that I really need to keep in mind. I'm moving things I've committed to, taken action on. And I'm not actually moving them, I'm copying them from the actual notes down below, and I'm putting them in the top. So at the end, my goal at the end of every training is to have at least 3 to 5, sometimes way more, power themes, and at least have 3 to 5 actionable items that then would move to my one-page productivity planner, another high-performance tool, or my high-performance planner. I have all that digitized, of course. I'm using notes for that too. Does that all make sense? Let me go through that again, because I think I covered that pretty quick. I'll go through and take notes, and I use bulleted form, and I'll show it to you so you have full clarity here. And I'm looking for 5 things. Sometimes I'll take general notes where they're saying stuff, and it's not really a distinction, but I think I need it for context. So I'll type that in, you'll see that. It's just in a bulleted form, it doesn't have any quotes around it. It just stands alone. That was the 6th item. So I'm taking notes, looking for these things, and I'm trying to timestamp if they're there, because sometimes I really want to go back and reflect. Total side note, if there's a timestamp on a YouTube video, you can actually copy the link so it starts at that timestamp. When you go into YouTube's video and you're at that point, you hit share and it says, do you want it to start here? If you say yes, and then you copy that into your notes, you click that button, it goes right to that YouTube video and starts right there. Amazing, because you're able to get that context back again. Oh, how did he describe that? What did he say? Why is it important? Oh, yeah. So I'm gonna go right in the YouTube video and hit that. Does that make sense? Oh, so good. So for example, I'll do that with YouTube videos, but for pages of books, I'll just put page 16, second paragraph, then I'll type my notes, put in my distinctions, put in my action items, ask the questions, those kinds of things. If this is too vague, don't worry, we're gonna walk this through for you. So these are the 6, 5 plus 1 areas that I'm trying to capture. Power quotes or themes, distinctions, these are things that are like, oh, I didn't know that, I need to know that. Major distinctions are things like, oh, that's a life anthem for me. These are some of my favorite major distinctions. I believe in my ability to figure things out. Everybody, picture everybody, and this is from High Performance Academy in my notes, picture everyone you meet with see me, hear me, acknowledge me, love me on their forehead. Oh, that was a massive distinction for me. Massive. That way you're compassionate, empathetic, and loving to every soul you meet. That's how I interpreted it. Next is simplify to amplify. Natalie, the Boss Babes, wrote that. And I was 3 power words. And I was like, oh, I so need to hear that. And I need to keep that top of mind. Major distinction. Does that make sense? These are life anthems to live by, if that helps. So gold. So the outline, we're working through it. We're using shortcuts. So, and I'll show you this when I do the training. When I'm taking notes on our own training, I'll be like, distinction. I'll do semicolon DI and you'll see it automatically filled. That's through keyboard text replacement. It's on the iPhone, iPad, and the Mac. And once you put it in one place, it automatically, through the iCloud, it automatically is everywhere. Is that cool? So awesome. So we have power items, date links, power themes, action items, 5 different areas, and then general context. You'll see bulleted parts that don't have quotes or distinction or ask or anything like that. And I always try to include page numbers, timestamps, and links to review so that I can go further down that rabbit hole. It's like the true context of hypertext protocol, where there's better links. Ooh, he said this, go watch this. All right, I'll link to that. Read this. Sometimes I even have a one in here that'll be read dash, and it'll be the related book or whatever that would be. Linked video would be action. Watch this video starting here. That kind of thing. So I hope that helps. It'll make more sense when you see it. So that's the outline. How do we do with that, by the way? Can you see the power here? You have your notes captured in a way where you can reflect on them, refine them, because they're in a word processor, to use a term from the 80s or 90s. You can tune them up. You can move things down to add your power themes and your action items that you want to, the sort of highlights of that training at the end. Really, really powerful there. And then you have ways to determine what's most important for you to remember for the long term. So the process, let's roll. The concept is, and I think what we'll do is I'm just going to go through and show you me doing this, is to take a training, and I'll just use this training, and I'll start right here, and I'll maybe go through to here, and I'll take notes the way I would take notes. And then I'll probably do my whole training and take notes, and I'll share that with you, but for the context of this, I'll put that in the video, where you can see me taking notes and going after it. Is that helpful? So the process, though, is for you to define, okay, I'm going to go and read this book. I'm going to go watch this video. I'm going to go to this live event. I'm going to set up in advance, if it's a live event, day 1, day 2, day 3, day 4. I'm going to have my action items, my power themes, my action items, and then down below I'm going to take notes. And just to have that all sort of templated in advance. That's when I go to any Brennan event, I'll have those 4 notes, if it's a 4-day event, already set. And then I'll go through and type them in. That night, sometimes on the airplane ride back, I'll go back through and refine them. I'll go through them and just tighten them up. Maybe misspellings, clear that up. I'll also at that point, typically, sometimes I do it inline if it's really powerful and important. I'll go back and fill in the top 2 parts, the power themes and the action items. Because I'm like, oh, that's something that must be done no matter what. I got to put that in the action item at the top of the note. Then I'll go through, refine it. And then I look at it, and I'm looking at it through the lens of teaching to others. So I'm like, what parts of this may be helpful for others? Or maybe the whole note will be. Then I'll reach out to people. I'll get intentional about it. Reach out to people, hey, I was going through this event, and they talked about this topic, and I think you and I had a conversation about it. This may help you. So I'm going to send you that clip. Would that be helpful? Or send you my notes for that? And I'm like, yes. So like, how can we impact change with others through that lens of civilization as a race between education and catastrophe? Does that make sense? That's the fuel for me anyway. I hope this isn't too deep. I hope you're following along. So we'll go through the process together in a moment as I put that video in of me doing the notes from this training. And you'll see it in action. And I hope you sense the reality of how that works. You get in rhythm with that, world changer, total game changer. And yeah, it requires typing. If you need to learn how to type, there's tools to do that. Next up is your process. We did the process. Next up is your review. And this is kind of where we'll end, and we'll go through the action list. How do we integrate what we've learned in a majorly powerful way? This would be an ask in the notes. How do we integrate what we've learned in a majorly impactful way? Here's what we know about the human mind and adult learning theory. Repetition. So I got rid of, this was about 8 years ago, I got rid of all the games on my phone. And I said, any time that I would have gone to play a game, I'm going to open up my notes. Back then I was using Evernote. I'm going to open up Evernote. Today it would be Apple Notes. I'm going to go into my notes and just go back through something I've taken notes on recently that I think I could further integrate, that I need to get better at. So forward that 8 years, now as a part of my practice always. Like in the morning, having coffee, I'm like, I need to go back through my notes on cryptocurrency. I need to go back through my notes on the metaverse. I need to watch that video and take notes on that. I need to think about the application of adult learning theory through the lens of cryptocurrency. All right, let me go back through my adult learning theory notes and let me apply it into cryptocurrency. Does that make sense how this evolves? So the idea, and this is what I've trained before through the lens of high performance, is that we have situational things, we have daily things, we have weekly things, we have monthly, quarterly, and yearly things. And if we really want to learn faster, we really want to accelerate our expertise in the fastest possible way, we are situationally saying, all right, if I've got time where I would play a game, if I'm waiting for something, I'm stuck in traffic, I don't mind being stuck in traffic anymore. I go through my notes. If I'm waiting for 10 minutes for picking up my daughter, I'm going through my notes. I'm not playing a game. Not that games aren't fun, because I do play a lot of computer games. Last night we played, or a couple nights ago, we played Battlefield 4 with my high school buddies, just like back in the 80s. Except the graphics weren't as good back then. And we had the headsets down and we're talking. I had plenty of time for gaming, nothing against gaming. But when I'm in context of life, this situationally is like, okay, let me go back in my notes. And my notes are so accessible and easily topicked, categorized. That is so cool to be able to go back in and relearn and go after it. Get another level of depth and articulation. As I'm going through those notes, I'm thinking, because that is becoming more competent for me. I'm getting more real with what I'm learning. I'm like, ooh, there's another question I didn't think of the first time I saw this. You know what I'm talking about when you're in the second or third time of learning something or watching a training and you're like, missed that entirely. I wasn't ready to hear that yet. This is commonly what I'll say. Now I'm ready to hear that. Ooh, I need to research that. So I'll take more notes, put more notes in there. I got to research X, Y, or Z and go after it. That's the review piece. That's why it's critical in my mind to have it on, take notes on your computer with your iPad to draw. and then have that automatically in Apple Notes on your phone. Because then I'm able to access it and review it anywhere at any time, because I always have my phone with me. So what I would really challenge you to think through for you, and maybe baby step with this training, is to go through, and I'll do a kickstart for you on it, as far as you seeing it happen as I put that into the training, the video of me doing this work, is to really think about baby stepping into trialing this. Going back to a 5-minute video where you learn something, and just working through a note for that video, linking, power themes, action items. And if these things resonate with you, bring the joy, like a quote, a distinction, a major distinction, an ask, a read, an action item, linking to timestamps in the video, those kind of things. And realize that it might be clunky and slow at first, but just like riding that bike, you'll get in rhythm with it. You'll get things rolling. Is that helpful? Oh, so many people have asked for this training. They're like, Char, just tell me how you take notes. But it's so, as you can see, it's so bigger, it's much bigger than that. There's a fundamental fuel for it. There's a process for it. And the most important part that we're talking about right now, I could take all the notes in the world if I don't review them or share them, for what, right? So I'm applying them into a purposeful, profitable business model where I'm educating you and helping you. Simplifying the complicated. Simplify to amplify. Thanks, Natalie. Going after it. So what I would challenge you to do is to define. Situationally, instead of playing Angry Birds, I'm going to review my notes. Situationally, when I'm waiting for something, I'm going to review my notes. I'm going to get my phone out, go through it. Daily, when I'm having coffee or tea after lunch, whatever that is for you, I'm going to go back through the latest notes I've got and just kind of go through them again. Maybe you're doing that on the phone, maybe you're doing that on the computer and just kind of refining them. Can you imagine 30 minutes a day where you're curating your own notes? 30 minutes a day times 365 days. You would be learning stuff so much faster. It would be just insane. It would be awesome. That's the piece. Got to define that. I'm happy to break it down for you in our Zoom Roundtable. Mastery Community members, you know we're on that. I want to make sure you get this and integrate this. As I mentioned earlier, my three that just came to mind, my biggest major distinctions. I believe in my ability to figure things out. I've said that so often. Another one that I didn't write, people support what they create. Everything's a co-creation. Natalie crushed that in Influencer Summit. Crushed that. Shared how she built this marketing message and it fell flat. And she goes, nobody wants to buy what I've got. And then she reached out to her people and they said, no, we don't want that. We want this. And she changed the topic of it and then it caught fire. She asked the people. They helped her. She changed. Went after the different marketing message. Caught fire. So good. See me, hear me, love me, acknowledge me. Simplify to amplify. Here's the outline. I'm going to show it to you in play. Or by this point in the video, you had already seen it when I put it in. I hope this helped. You may not use the exact technique or methodology that I use, the exact tools, but at least you have a frame through which I've used for the last decade to grow incredibly fast. And if you're in a master community, you know how that works. Learning new things, applying it. Cryptocurrency is the latest in that application of this accelerated expertise. This ends the training of our topic today. So let's get in your action list and wrap this beautiful baby up for you. First and foremost, define your why. Is it purpose? Are you passionate about it? Is it something you want to learn, you want to try, you want to go after? Is it a side hustle you want to build? Is it about profit too? I would always challenge you to have purpose and profit in play. That's just my bias, if you will. Is it for self-improvement? Is it to help you realize your dream? A big part of the cryptocurrency journey for me is that cryptocurrency, unlike in the stock market, can be traded. Like you can sell and buy, sell and buy, sell and buy. In the stock market, you have to wait 3 days for your cash to clear before you can buy again. So if you buy a stock and then you sell out of it and you made a profit and you want to buy another stock, you can buy that other stock, but unless you're leveraged or in margin, you cannot sell that stock until the cash is cleared. It's kind of complicated. In cryptocurrency, you can buy and sell all day long. They've defined bots that do this. Now imagine if you go way back to one of our trainings on compounding interest, and I'll make sure to probably put in a cutaway here for you. The 1% earned on $10,000 300 times, I'm going to show you the cutaway here in the video. That's what you can earn. Isn't that amazing? So it helps realize future dreams for people. Okay, if I get competence in trading in cryptocurrency as an active trader, which we talk about passive investing versus active trading, it's helped me realize my dreams. I better get on it. Cool? So good. Second, redefine your mindset. Look for the language that's defiant, as we teach in the declarations, that's self-sabotaging for you. I would never be able to learn that. I can't do that. I believe in my ability to figure things out. I have a growth mindset. Critical. Third, read the charge. At least read the competency chapter. I've got the pages for you right here, 56 through 76. Just dive deep into what it takes to, through the lens of a high performer, to get competent about something, to build skills, wisdom, abilities that you just don't have yet. Fourth, set up your tools. Practice your process times 10. You've got to practice, practice, practice. I've shown you Apple Notes on how I do it on this very training. You've got this. You can do it. If you're a slow typer, guess what your job is? It's to learn how to type faster. I learned back in middle school on the typing tutor program. I don't even think it was before that. We were using typewriters when I was in middle school. Yeah, so I was on a typewriter just typing away, learning the home keys. Then I learned through Mavis Beacon, and I taught my girls through Mavis Beacon, typing tutor program on the computer. So set up your tools, practice your process, and just keep going at it. Don't get too frustrated. You might get frustrated, but just realize the way that it works. This is such an envision for you. I'm sitting at, I wasn't McDonald's, maybe it was Starbucks. And I'm sitting there as I was evolving this a decade ago, and I'm like, I need to review my notes. And I'm having a coffee, and I'm reviewing my notes and getting more distinctions from my notes. And kind of recapturing what happened a few months ago at one of Brennan's events. And I'm like, I'm so glad I changed this. I have a different outlook for my day because of it. So good. Integrate into your life. So now, wherever I'm at, if I have my computer, my iPad, and sometimes my iPhone, it's harder for me to take notes because I don't type fast with my thumbs as I do with a keyboard. I'm like, ooh, this I need to capture. This learning I need to capture. It could be something that I see, something when I'm out and about or at a friend's house. I'll make notes of it, go back, take notes on this. I'll create the note then, using my note template, and then I'll just put it in my action list. I got to go and take notes on this because I think there's something there for me. So that's the kind of integration into your life. Then we also talked about reviewing your needle movers. Situationally, instead of playing games, I'm getting my phone out. I'm going to review my notes and go after it. Finally, and you know I'm here for you, ask for help. If you want, we can do a workshop where we do this together. I'm totally cool with that. I'll lead the charge on that and rock it for you. That being said, Adult Learning Theory says we should probably go over this one more time. First and foremost, we define our why. Why do we want to learn? Are we purposeful about it? Are we passionate about it? Are we positive about it? Are we productive about it? Is it something that could generate income for us? Profitable? We have to learn if we're going to share through best practices, topic, story, training, challenge. You see how that works? So good. The Trifecta of Happiness, learn, create, share. Learn, create, share. We integrate those learnings, we simplify them, and then we make our own trainings from them. High performance mindset, we dove deep on this idea of open growth. I believe in my ability to figure things out. I recognize what self-sabotaging thoughts I have and I'm throwing them out or working with a coach to get them out. High performance competency, we're learning how to grow faster, accelerate our expertise through the lens of what's already been done. We just have to change the way we approach things. Your tools, Apple Notes, a laptop, maybe an iPad with a pencil. If you want to draw, do it that way. The outline, title, link to the event, video, book, date, links, power themes, action items down below. We take the notes. Always include page numbers, timestamps, links to review. We have 5, 6, 7 distinctions. Bring the joy, a quote, distinction, major distinction, ask. Another one would be read, action, and then maybe just general notes that you're taking at a bulleted. I like bullets, so I use bullets all the time, as you'll see. After we're done, then we go back and kind of summarize. What are the themes that rise to the top out of this training? What are the action items I need to take action on? I've tried to define all my trainings from day one, so your action list is already defined for you. This is just part of the process that I learned for Adult Learning Theory. Outline, we covered. The process, we covered. And the review. How are we integrating this into our life? That being said, thank you so incredibly much. Sending you tons of positive, loving, healthy energy. And I wish you the very best on your learning journey. We're going to crush this together. See you in the next training. Bye.